a stacked programming lineup for you today, really with the focus of helping you understand and really like quantify what's next for you when it comes to community in 2025 based on the trends report that we just released a few weeks ago. So we have a powerhouse lineup. We've got Julie Solomon and Kristen, Mathilde, and myself spending some time with you today. I love seeing the chat so active. This is what it's all about. We have hundreds of people live with us right now. This is amazing. So before we dig in, I want to introduce myself. So my name is Alexis Teichmiller. And I have had really the joy of spending the last decade working in the creator economy. So I have got to spend 4+ years at a company called ConvertKit, which is now Kit. And I've spent 3+ years at Circle. And I've gotten to work alongside of amazing creators, 6, 7, 8, and 9-figure entrepreneurs like Glow, Tonmo, Pat Flynn, Brendan Burchard, Jasmine Starr, Amy Porterfield, just to name a few. And I've gotten to see the insides of not only their businesses, but also how them as entrepreneurs think and how they build and how they create. And it's truly been the joy of my life. Something else you need to know about me before we dig in is I am a chronic side hustler. Do I have any side hustlers with me actually right now in the chat? Like you might have your 9 to 5, you might have several side hustles on the side. Yes. Okay. I'm seeing lots of, of yeses in the side. Multi-passionate side hustler, multi-hyphenate. I love it. Okay. So I am not alone. I am in good company. I have done everything from written books to had a women's clothing company for 3 years. I've been podcasting for 9 years. I'm now a business coach and consultant for women who want to win in their careers. And so I love, yes, skill stacker. I love that, Adrian. I'm going to start using that. Amazing. Well, now that we're better acquainted with each other, I want to jump right into today's like the reason that we're here is community is a big buzzword right now. Can we all like agree? Like, yes, community. I mean, I don't know about you, and I've worked in the space for several years now, but community, I can't jump online or join anybody's newsletter in the business world without hearing how important community is. Like, I see it everywhere. Are we like, yes, we see community everywhere. We know that it's a big buzzword. Yeah. But if you're here, you see beyond the buzz. You see why we're really here. And it's because we understand that community is not a trend. While it is trending right now, it is not a trend. It's something that we have been doing for a millennia. And it's also something that we realize is the soul of our businesses, right? It's how we serve our clients. It's how we are able to grow our businesses because we listen to client feedback. And it's also how we live life. It's how we become better humans as we do that through community. So at Circle, our mission is to help the world build transformational communities. And how do we do that? Well, we kind of stepped back, and when we first started, we recognized that we think that humanity is experiencing a little bit of a meaning crisis. Does anybody agree with me? Type meaning in the chat if this resonates with you. Mostly because we have recognized that while we are so connected on social media, we are incredibly disconnected in our communities. Like we are so focused on being online and being on social media and being on our phones, but we struggle with, what does it all mean to us? What businesses are we trying to build? What impact are we trying to have on the world? And we can really build a lot of self-doubt. And so we believe that community is actually has the power to change and positively impact this meaning crisis that so much of the world is experiencing right now. But how do we build successful communities? How do we do this successfully, right? So I don't know about you again, I see this all over. These are just screenshots of tweets I've seen from some of the top community builders, entrepreneurs in our space right now. Jay Klaus, Justin Wells, Jordan Godby, Geshe House, and Kristen Bousquet, who's going to be here with us in a little bit. And they're all talking about community. They're all talking about how they're building it, what their ethos is on it, and the success that they're having in it. Again, we're hearing community everywhere, but we thought, why assume what's working? Why not actually ask? Why not ask the thousands of community builders in our own community, which led us to the Community Trends Report. To give you a little bit of insight into the trends report, because I believe that data tells a story, But also, where is the data coming from? Like, who are we surveying, right? Any other nerds here? They're like, okay, that stat is interesting, but I want to understand like what's beneath the surface. Who was actually surveyed in order? Yeah, okay, I love it. I'm a nerd. Data without context is useless. Completely agree. Reverend Steven said that they're a geek. I love that. Same. So I want to give you a quick overview of the 1,200 plus respondents that we had from the survey before we get into the meat and get into the bones of everything. So respondents identified mostly as community builders. We have 10% that kind of identified as other, but you kind of an interesting split here. Most identified as solopreneurs, creators, and then you have a kind of almost an even split between community managers and community business founders. If you resonate with any of these titles, drop them in the chat. If you're like, yeah, I'm a solopreneur, I'm actually a community manager for a business, or I'm a community business founder, which means that community literally is my business. Okay, Jenna said she's a community manager. Okay, solopreneur creator. Okay, good mix here. This is great. This is great. Okay, so this is going to be helpful for everybody here. And also the different types of communities. We see an interesting split here as well. The majority are coming from professional networks. So people that are in community to grow their professional careers, to grow their skills in their profession. And then we have an almost even split between life clubs. So that's like wellness, health clubs, parenting clubs, sewing clubs, gardening clubs, things like that. And then upskilling programs. So learning how to code, copywriting, any sort of like skill development. Can you write in the chat? And there's also product support too. There was like a section of respondents that use community for product support. Write in the chat which type of community bucket you currently fit in, or if you don't have a community yet, which one you resonate with most of what you're building. So, okay, a lot of professional networks, community support, life clubs, okay, upskilling. Amazing. And sometimes it's helpful to have this kind of language, right? Because sometimes what we're building, we don't always know that there's like other language for it. So sometimes having these categories can help us quickly identify with what we're building. Okay, S&Ps, growth, professional, amazing. So really quick, one more slide just to kind of give you some context of our respondents, the range of community sizes. I love this slide because it just shows like how layered, and there's so many different sizes of communities out there. The majority were under 100. And then the second was 100 to 500 members. And then it just kind of goes down from there, 500 to 1,000, 1,000 to 5,000. And we had 5% of 10,000 plus, which is interesting. Like there was several people that filled out the survey that had tens and tens of thousands of members in their communities. And then where they're hosting their communities. So 66% host on Circle. Might be a little biased, but we are the best in my opinion. But you also see WhatsApp, Facebook groups, Slack, Discord, Mighty, School, Thinkific, and about 8% of other were just maybe hosting them on other platforms that weren't listed. Okay, so quick agenda over the next couple of sessions. We have this session right now, 5 trends shaping the community landscape in 2025. We're going to have an amazing fireside chat with 2 real life community builders, Julie Solomon and Kristen Bousquet. Let me know in the chat if you're familiar with either of them and their work. Truly phenomenal entrepreneurs. I have learned so much from them over the past several years, getting to know them, becoming friends with them. I cannot wait to hear what they think. We're going to have a discussion. Like sometimes reading a report and going through the trends, but then discussing them and kind of pulling them apart, seeing how they're planning on actually implementing them. That's where some of the real like magic and juice happens. So I'm excited for that fireside chat. And then session 3, we're going to have our head of community and customer education, Mathilde Leo. She's going to talk about how to build a future-proof community strategy. Okay. Amazing. Are ready to dive into the top 5 trends? We've set the scene. You have all the information. Are you ready? I just want to see a couple. Okay, a lovely Ann said, I love Kristen Bousquet. She's in her social suite community. Amazing. We're seeing ready, woohoo, love it. Okay, love the energy in the chat. This is fantastic. 300 plus of you live right now. Thank you so much for being here. Let's do this. So, trend number 1. Social media is for discovery. Community platforms are for connection. This might not be new information, but I want to look at it through this lens. So 76% of respondents still source new community members through social media. That's not necessarily new information. But what is interesting is seeing which platforms they are ranking best to worst for driving the best business to their community. So they're funneling people from these platforms into a private community. And number one is Instagram. That was a little surprising to me. I thought potentially LinkedIn, because LinkedIn has just skyrocketed in the last year or two, but it goes Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, and then the last three, the lowest. So I'm curious, which platform do you use? And yes, Edmund, this is a mix of private and business. Yeah, that's correct. That's correct. Which platform do you use most to grow your own audience? Okay, so I'm seeing LinkedIn, Instagram, and TikTok, mainly YouTube. Okay, Substack, love that. Instagram and TikTok, LinkedIn. Okay, a lot of LinkedIn. Amazing. Okay, so there's been this transition from social to private communities. We've all felt it. And what this used to look like was social to email list. Are we all familiar with kind of that top of funnel? We get people, we're building an audience on social media, and the next step is usually let's get them on our email list. That is still relevant and still a very popular strategy, but we're also seeing a direct line from social media directly to private communities. So directly to, a paid membership. And they're kind of skipping the newsletter part of the funnel. So why when people are making this decision, they're seeing, okay, I want to get my audience off of, you know, a social platform where they're only really talking to me. They can't talk to each other. They're seeing this desire for their audience to connect. And they're going, okay, what's the lowest barrier to entry, right? What's the V1 version of a private community off of like, let's say Instagram and LinkedIn and YouTube? Most people are going to, V1, step one, going to platforms like Meta, Slack, and Discord. And what we're finding from the report is that while they're great, they're not necessarily designed for that long-term growth. But 46% of entry level communities are hosted on Meta, which is very, very interesting. And the aspect of that, in my opinion, is you're taking people from one social platform like Instagram or LinkedIn, and you're putting them in another social platform like Meta that's designed to be distracting. And it's designed from, an ad revenue perspective to hold your attention and to actually pull you away from the Facebook group. So that's why we're seeing the need to even get off, platforms like this. And Kristen, you're going to hear from in a little bit, one of her experiences and case studies from this is she started her membership community on on Facebook groups. Nothing wrong with this, right? She had almost 200 paying members and she was using, Facebook groups, but she got to a point where the tech of Facebook groups, she was bumping up into those growing pains. She had hundreds of people that were paying for a premium experience, but she wasn't really able to deliver that in a professional way on Facebook groups. Another great case study, and we'll actually talk to Kristen a little bit more about this here in the Fireside chat. Another great case study of this is Dave Gerhardt from Exit 5. He is really well known in the B2B marketer space. Anyone familiar with Dave or his work on Exit 5? He's really big on LinkedIn right now. And Anastasia said, yes. Okay, amazing. Okay, yep, followed Dave for a while. Dave is great. So Dave started sharing his B2B marketing tips on LinkedIn and gated some of his best content with Patreon, thinking maybe like, oh, I'll get maybe 30 members. Maybe this has happened to you. You kind of put something out there, maybe a few people will come. But he ended up exploding his Patreon and had 1,000 plus members in a few months and quickly realized, okay, Patreon's tech isn't what I need in order to get my community members to engage with each other and post. So he moved it over to Facebook groups and again ended up bumping into the restrictions that Facebook groups had, and it was holding him back and holding back his growth. So when he moved to a private, hosted community on Circle, he was able to actually increase his member engagement. And this is a big piece of hosting communities on platforms like Facebook, for example, that are distracting, or even WhatsApp groups when you go in there and there's lots of different intentions for why a consumer is on Facebook, right? Maybe they're there for your group for 5 minutes, but then they bounce out and they might not be as focused. And so he actually saw a almost 2x increase in monthly active user engagement. And his monthly active user engagement is 40%, which is incredibly healthy. We see like 15 to 20% monthly active users, which is still like you're wanting to refine that and grow that over time. But because he actually got it off of a social platform and into a private community on Circle, he was able to increase that engagement. Another stat I think is insane is he's been able to increase his revenue year over year by almost 88%, because of the premium experience that he's been able to build on a private community on Circle. Okay, key insights from this trend. People are actively looking for an escape from the endless social media scroll. Like, while we're there on social media to be entertained, I will say that the private communities that I'm in, I'm there to engage, I'm there to give, I'm there to connect with people, and I'm there to learn. And that isn't always the case with entertainment, attention focused platforms like social media. People also want to see less negativity and ads in their online spaces. Consumers are so smart. We are so smart. We know when an ad is coming up, right? We will just immediately swipe by it. We also, it is a time where we see a lot of negativity online as well. And so how do we create these safe, supportive spaces where people are free to open up and to share their ideas and to support each other? And yeah, this third point, just craving real connections around specific interests, goals, and values. So key takeaway from here, think of social media as the front door for discovery, but really try to focus your efforts on community platforms for driving real engagement where your community can actually engage with each other and not just rely on you as the center of the spoke of engagement. Trend number 2, are we tracking? Are we tracking? I love how engaged the chat is. This is amazing. I love how y'all are chatting with each other. You're connecting. Okay, Champ says he's here. We're ready for trend number 2. So Chuck says he's tracking. Thank you. Trend number 2, the niche exclusive community advantage. So we're seeing a big shift that bigger isn't always better, and vanity audiences don't equate to a connected community. So while we might honestly like idolize having a big audience, right? We want to have that massive email list, or we want to have the big YouTube channel, or we want to be a top LinkedIn thought leader. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? There's also sometimes this mindset shift that can happen that I invite you to explore is that can you be successful with a 200-person community? And in the data we found from respondents, the survey respondents said that one community member is worth 234 social media followers. So when you equate the value of someone in your private community that has raised their hand, yeah, Michelle, quality, quality, quality. Someone that has raised their hand, they're engaged, they want to be in your community. And oftentimes we end up getting distracted, focused on creating new social media content for people that aren't necessarily really engaged or don't really have that level of care in you or what you're teaching or what you're hoping to solve in the world, as someone that has said, yeah, I want to be in your community. And so how can we really shift towards, our attention towards creating amazing experiences for our community members and maybe spend a little less time focused on, social media followers that don't always have that quality that we're looking for. So from open door to invite only, this is a big thing that we're seeing in the shift of these smaller communities, is the rise of applications or vetting processes. So a value prop is saying, hey, this is a small community. Everybody's invited to apply, of course, like we want this to be accessible. Everybody's invited to apply, but I also want to make sure that you're the right fit for this community. I've seen this with SPI Pro, Pat Flynn's community. I saw this with Jay Klaus's, The Lab, both very successful communities, different sizes. And they really saw that by having the application process, they were able to attract people that were serious about being an active participant in their community. And they also, were able to get more engagement from that as well because they had people that really wanted to be there versus that flash in the pan. Oh, I'm excited. I want to join. But then kind of the crickets settle in and you don't necessarily have people that are as engaged. So this could be something to potentially test out this year. An expert insight from one of my favorite community strategists, Tom Ross. So he is seeing a lot of communities. Let me move my video here just a second so I can see my slide. Okay, so he's seeing a lot of communities doing six figures to high six figures with the following model. They're priced around $1,000 annually. The size is between 100 to 300 members. They have a really focused member persona. So they know exactly who they're trying to serve. And maybe it's not even a niche topic. Maybe it's for, growing a business, but they've really focused on what type of person they want to serve. Where are they in their business? What revenue, how they're making their revenue. They've been able to really focus on what that member persona is. And then their pricing tiers are annual only. Big shift away from, we've seen this over the last year or so, is there's been a shift away from monthly memberships to more quarterly and annual, which has been interesting. And a lot of that we think is due to people need time to see the value in being in the community. And can you deliver that value in 30 days? Or does someone need to experience being a part of your community, your programming, your cohort, whatever it is that you're building for maybe a quarter? Or maybe you want someone to commit to a year of being focused and being engaged, and they're seeing a lot lower turnover from that as well, month to month. Okay, I'm curious, what's your niche and who do you serve? I would love to hear, like, or maybe it's your member persona as well. And yes, Janine, yeah, you had a question. How does he have a six-figure business with 300 members at 1K at a 1K? So that'd be 300K. How does he upsell, or does he upsell on something else? So that was more so an average pricing. So around a 1K, yeah. And this is a range again from 100K to 750K. But yeah, he does upsell on done for you services as well as consulting outside of his membership. But this is also what he's seeing in his clients. So he also builds communities for clients, and he's seeing this range as well. Okay, I love it. Back to niches. Who do you serve? Okay, Yanni, B2B SaaS, internal communications and employee engagement. Ooh, um, I want to make sure that I'm saying your name right. Alexa, trail and ultra runners. That's very cool. Okay, Philly says first time buyers. Okay, tech training students, Slack users in San Francisco, freelancers. Okay, so a lot of great niches here, and I love how you're focused on who you're serving. Um, do you think that can you be successful serving that community at a smaller, more intimate, and it's in a smaller, more intimate setting at potentially a higher price? So this is an insight from Rudy, our one of our co-founders here. He's also our chief design officer and leads up all things branding. He said that communities succeed by creating distinct spaces with clear purposes. There's nothing worse than someone coming into a community and being confused on how they're supposed to actually engage. So, whether that's professional development, creative collaboration, or shared interest, this intentional design helps foster trust and encourages members to share more openly than they would on public platforms. So, as you are the community architect and building out your community, can you create very, very specific spaces with specific purposes that when a new member sees it and jumps into your community, they know exactly how they're supposed to engage. And they also trust you more because you've invited them into this space that's very clear and very clear expectations of how to connect with each other. Okay, so a takeaway from here is focusing on defining a clear niche and prioritizing engagement over sheer numbers. All right, trend number three. I'm going to take a quick sip of coffee. Just bear with me. Amazing. So, trend number three. Live, virtual, and IRL events are driving the most engagement and retention in communities. I love this one. I love events. Obviously, you're here right now on a live virtual event, but we'll dig into the data here. So I'm curious, who here runs virtual or in real life events to support your community? Yeah, me, a mix. I do. Okay, a lot. Yes, this is very, very popular. And I love that you are already focused on doing this because this is where I think the magic happens. So, a key insight here is virtual events are the top way to engage your community. And just to add here, the most popular community event types are educational workshops or trainings. The second is small group discussions and peer-to-peer support. And then the third most popular is open office hours and Q&A. And usually, as you can kind of see, there's almost a level of prep. So the most popular community event type, educational workshops and trainings, usually requires the most prep time, but it can also be the highest value because you're leading people through content, you're teaching them, you're giving them an opportunity to learn and grow together. And again, the third one, open office hours and Q&A, usually that requires less prepped content. It's a bit more casual, a bit more laid back, and you don't have to prep as much content. So 88% of respondents also rate IRL events as a successful engagement tactic for their communities. Who here does IRL events? Yeah. We at Circle, we've just, oh, IRL means in real life. In real life. Sorry for the acronym there. Yes, in real life. So we at Circle just started doing this with some of our customers in different cities. I also lead up all of our brand events. So I've gotten to speak and be at events with creators, with entrepreneurs. And the energy from in real life events is just unreal. Like there's energy here, right? There's energy here. But attending a conference or a meetup or an in-person workshop is amazing. Michelle says, I love IRL events. Jim says, let's partner Circle. Come to Nashville. Send me an email, Jim. Send me an email. I would love to come to Nashville. So 48% of our respondents are hosting events in these types. So the most, like the highest rated was casual meetups down to practical workshops, networking events, and so on. So, an expert insight from the one and only Pat Flynn. He is the founder of Smart Passive Income, a very successful and popular membership that runs on Circle. Their whole focus shifted from these courses that were self-paced to cohort educational experiences where the course content sat alongside of the learning experience, but they used monthly live workshops and trainings to get people to actually attend and learn and hang out with each other while they're going through the courses. And now it's become a key part of their engagement strategy. They focus on live events, workshops, and masterclasses and in office hours. And we do this as well at Circle. We host office hours twice a week. We host orientation sessions because we still see a massive value in this. We see a massive value in getting together, talking through different content, talking through ideas, answering questions, and getting into the nitty-gritty of whatever core topic your community is about. I kept this, or I pulled this in here because AI, and while I'm a fan of AI, and we're going to talk about that here in a second, there's a growing appetite for unfiltered human interaction, right? I promise I am not AI. I'm a real person right now interacting with you, and you get to see the imperfections. And I think that's a big part of community is the vulnerability. It's the off the cuff rabbit holes that we go down on office hours. Champ, AI X's. I love that. That's hilarious. But the focus on live events really does it's complementary to the community that you're building. She drank the coffee, so we know that she was real. You are hilarious. Okay, big takeaway from this area is consider incorporating live events as a core part of your community engagement strategy, both virtual and IRL. If you weren't hosting events already, I hope that you are bought in now. Okay, trend number 4 of 5, we are cruising. This is the trend of the power of recurring revenue. This is not necessarily new, but we are again seeing this massive shift away from one-off purchases to the recurring model to give more sustainability and economic empowerment to entrepreneurs. Okay, I'm curious. Thank you for trusting that I'm human, Marvy. I'm curious, how does your business earn income? What products or services do you offer? Drop it in the chat. So I got an idea of who you serve. Okay, mentoring. B says mentoring, events. Our platform is a membership. Patrick says workshops. Okay. Shanice said conferences. Christopher says anti-gravity yoga trainings. I don't know where you are in the world, but I want to attend one of these. Is that like aerial yoga? That sounds amazing. Okay, Jenna says app subscriptions. Edmund says go to market consulting. Okay, Duncan says I've written 4 books. That's amazing. Books, one-on-one coaching. Okay, lots of different monetization models here. And you're going to see this represented in this breakdown here. So 54% of respondents are already tapping into paid memberships, and 41% are currently using recurring subscriptions memberships alongside of other offerings like coaching and consulting. And the most popular monetization models you can see right here: online coaching, memberships, courses, recurring subscriptions. So this is really interesting because about 4 years ago, I would say courses would probably be up here and memberships. And I actually remember data from about 3 years ago when I started at Circle. Memberships and recurring subscriptions lived right around here in this graph. And over the last 2 to 3 years, we are just seeing memberships and recurring subscriptions skyrocket as a way to earn more sustainable income in your business. Okay. And oh, yeah. Thank you, Marvy, for this question. They asked, what group does this data represent? Is it a global data set or specific to US or a state? This is a global data a global data set. So this is from people all over the world. So thank you for that. And no, Isaac, it's not Circle customers only. We surveyed Circle customers and other people on our email list. So yeah, this is a wide array of individuals. Okay. Expert insight from Bonnie Christine. Bonnie is an incredible creator. She's a pattern designer and she teaches other creatives how to turn their art and pattern designs into wallpaper, into actual fabric, and get licenses with big brands. Again, it's a really amazing woman to follow. But she started out in 2012. I had the opportunity to interview her for Circle's podcast, The Making of. And if you're curious about her episode, really good episode on like how she built out her multiple 7-figure business in a really interesting niche, right? Like pattern design. But she started her blog, and yes, the session is recorded. She started her blog in 2012 and she was writing and sharing and educating and people wanted more. And she's like, okay, what if I just charged $5 a month? And I kind of had this gated section. This is back in, 2012, 2014. What if I had this gated section to serve these people who really were curious about pattern design? And I just want to get a little bit of income back for my time. And now what's, started as a $5 a month membership has scaled into, she's increased her pricing over time as she should. She now generates millions of dollars a year annually from her membership. And there was this really amazing part in the interview with Bonnie where she talks about the ability to get groceries because of the way that her business was running. She wasn't earning as much income, and the membership gave her the sustainability and the predictability to be able to actually support her family. And I love these stories, right? Like this is what it's about. It's about the sustainability piece to give us a sense of peace and a sense of security in our finances. So big fan of recurring revenue and Bonnie. Another expert insight from Julie Solomon, who you will see here in a little bit, is she's seeing, and she's a messaging strategist and a coach. She's been in the space for over a decade. And she also came from the PR media space and has become a coach, course creator. And she has shifted her entire business to a reoccurring revenue model because she was honestly getting tired. And we'll talk about this here in a little bit with her, tired of the one-off course sales and the unpredictability and the roller coaster that she's riding every single quarter over quarter, wondering, where her revenue will be. And whenever she shifted over to high value recurring products, she really was able to scale and she was able to serve more people in a lot less time. The bot army of AI note takers. I love it. Okay, takeaway. Start thinking about how you can incorporate paid memberships or subscription models into your business model. Trend number 5, last trend for us to dive into, the rise and role of AI in communities. And I'm excited to dig into this. How do you feel about AI? This is a question for you. Drop it in the chat. How do you feel about AI? Are you using it already? Let me know. Okay, Janine says, love it. Who is this? Saskia says, well, I manage an AI community. So that's amazing. Cass, AI, she's a good friend. Love, excited, using it. Some people have a mix of feelings, use it a lot. Jason says, Terminator, LOL. Love ChatGPT. Some people, okay, lots of mixed. Some people are addicted. Some people say saved my life. Okay, amazing. So I love that we have a mix here. Most people are positive about it, but yeah, Claude AI, big fan of Claude. He's my bestie. Use it for titles and descriptions. A lot of use cases for AI. So we're going to talk about that right now. We have found that AI is freeing up a lot of community builders' time so that they can focus more on meaningful work. So let's take a look at what the data says of AI's biggest use cases right now in community. And 76% said they're using it to create or edit content. Again, I'm seeing that a lot of you in the chat are using it for this, for copy, for content, for titles and descriptions. 47% are using it to take notes on calls or meetings, like our good friend Otter in the chat right now being taken over by AI notes. 47% of respondents are using it for that. And then 41% are using it to analyze data. So, are you guys familiar with AI agents? I'm curious. So, basically, you're building an agent once you build an automated workflow. This agent is using all of the data that you've given it, and you're essentially building a mini you to execute certain tasks. Okay, yeah, Tiffany says yes. Okay, Edmund says in my support chat. Amazing. Okay, Delia says mini chat, sort of. Champ says RIP to my job. No, humans are still important. Okay, so it's still early days for AI agents and communities, but adoption is about to skyrocket. We just launched AI agents at Circle natively in our product about 2 weeks ago, 2.5 weeks ago. And 46% of community builders are already considering implementing them. 24% are going to implement them. And 29% are considering not implementing them. So, about 2/3 are saying, yes, we're going to implement AI into our communities. I want to give you a use case of a AI chat agent for one of our customers, Good Inside. Anybody here familiar with Good Inside? Dr. Becky, she's an amazing psychologist in the parenting, child relationship industry, or not industry, apologies, space. And she has an amazing community called Good Inside where she helps parents become better parents. Yeah, Keith says Dr. Becky is great. Absolutely. So they realized because their community is so large, people wanted that hands-on connection with Dr. Becky, but they weren't able to necessarily get that unless they were joining like live sessions, but they wanted to talk just to her and get advice. And they wanted to kind of have Dr. Becky on speed dial. And so they built a AI chat agent with AI agents. It's still in early development, but the chat agent is able to provide support to their members, in a one-on-one chat setting, non-judgmental, affordable, and incredibly scalable. And here's what this brings to the table. It's available 24/7. So Dr. Becky and her team are not manually responding to every single message. It's already familiar with their parenting journey. So the AI is able to pull all the information from Dr. Becky's books, podcasts, resources, and all of her research, as well as all the data from the community and the individual messaging with the AI agent, pull it together and give them personalized advice. And you can also train the agent to have that empathetic tone as well. It's also an affordable and accessible option. You know, hiring Dr. Becky to coach you as a parent, I assume would cost a lot and would be quite the investment, whereas this is included in the $30 a month membership. So it provides that one-on-one support without the member needing to, invest a lot of money for that hands-on. And it also provides good inside the business the ability to scale their support and scale their impact. So, a key takeaway here is explore how AI can streamline your community management and improve the member experience. I do think that an aspect of AI agents is making sure that your members know that this is AI. Because there was someone in here that was asking, like, how ethical is this? And I'm curious, like, what the ethics are. And that's a really great question. This is why we should talk about this, is why we should have these discussions. I think there's an aspect of this where you, as the community builder, can, choose to disclaim, hey, this is AI, or you can choose to not. It's up to you. But I'm a fan of disclaiming, like, I use AI for this, or this is an AI chatbot. All right. Is your head spinning with all the ideas and ways to implement these trends? Yes, I assume. I know my head is spinning. Amazing trends. Okay, thank you, Casey. Edmund says all the ways, love the trends. Okay, good. I hope that this was valuable to you. Speaking of, I would love to hear what your biggest takeaway was. Chuck said, I'm glad I'm sitting down. What was your biggest takeaway? Which trend really resonated with you? Ooh, Champ said sustainable models. Kevin said different types of events to test. Okay, amazing. AI and the use of AI. I've been inspired to look into in real life events, data-based insights and case studies. Astounded that Instagram first social. I agree. The Instagram is the biggest first social media funnel element. Yeah. Grateful for the information. Amazing. Yeah. Courses falling off. Agreed. Yeah. Ashna, the one community member to 235 social media followers. That data point really blew my mind too. It definitely like gives you a reframe on what we can focus on. Bigger isn't better. Amazing. Well, okay, with that, we only delve into 5 trends, but there's 12. And there's actually a 100-page report going really, really deep. So if you are a nerd like me and love data and love use cases and hearing from people who are really implementing it, you can download the community trends report. It is completely free, completely free. Thank you so much. My right-hand gal, Cass, in the chat, she just dropped the community trends report in the chat. So please go download it and continue to read, continue to learn, and really kind of pull apart these insights and see which of them really resonate with you and which ones you want to implement in 2025. Okay, with that, I am so excited. We are shifting over to our fireside chat with Julie Solomon and Kristen Bousquet. I'm going to bring them to stage. Julie, I hope this is you. It doesn't have your last name. So I'm going to promote you to panelist, and I hope that this is the right Julie Solomon. Hopefully, we'll see. And if not, that's okay. We might have to remove you from stage. That's okay. Yep, there she is.
That worked. It is me.
Hi,
Hi.
how are you?
I'm good. Good to see you today.
It's so good to see you. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh my gosh, of course. And that was such a fun training that you just took us through. And I love seeing what all of the attendees were saying. Hi, everybody. Good to be here today. Hi,
Hi,
Kristen.
Kristen.
I'm
Oh,
muted. Just kidding. Hi
there you
guys, how
go.
are you? Super excited to be
Good.
here.
Yeah, I'm so excited for this chat. I really like I sent you over some pretty intense questions that we're going to be getting into. So I want to jump right in. If everyone that's still with us live, we still have 300 plus people with us live. Please drop a hello to Julie and Kristen. Chuck downloaded the report. Amazing. I want to give both of these incredible entrepreneurs the introduction that they deserve. So first, I'm going to introduce Julie Solomon. If you are not familiar with her, she is a top podcaster and author. She is a personal branding coach, best-selling author, and she has been named a top 100 leader in influencer marketing. Her work has been featured in Forbes and Entrepreneur magazine. I've known Julie for almost a decade, and I have
Wow.
been able to learn so much from you and the way that you do business and your morals, your ethics, and also like your strategy and the way that you've pivoted so much over the last decade. So I'm so happy that you're here with us today.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to dive in.
Yeah. Okay, Kristen. Next up, my friend Kristen Bousquet. She is the founder of Social Mate. She sold her first business for 100K at age 25 and has since generated over $500,000 as a micro influencer through Social Mate. Her membership, she helps creators turn their online influence into a profitable, sustainable business. She's also the creator monetization contributor at Forbes. So, welcome, Kristen.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. What a warm welcome.
I am so excited for this. So let me just change my screen here really quick and let's dig into the nitty gritty of things. So I'm curious, which trend around community in 2025 are you the most excited about? And which trend are you the most skeptical of, or do you think might be a little overhyped? And Kristen, I'm gonna go with you because you gave a face. So I'm gonna kick it off with you first.
Okay, I guess I'm most excited for smaller niche communities, and maybe that's just because that's what my community is. I really love the idea of having people together that really understand each other and are going through all the same things. And when you can kind of talk to those people that are experiencing the same things, you can really help get through so many of the things that happen. So I would say most excited for that. Overhyped, potentially. Maybe would be everything AI. I have such mixed feelings about AI. I love it for so many things, but I also feel like there's so many things that it can't replace that
Mhm.
maybe we're trying to replace. I'm
Okay.
skeptical.
I love it. I love it. Julie, what about you?
Yeah. So I'm going to go back on the AI bit too, because I want to kind of piggyback off of what Kristen said. But first, I'll say I'm most excited about, I don't even want to call it a trend because I feel like it's something that's always been there. I just think it's kind of like when we hear that thing that we're supposed to know and it's like in concept we know it but then we don't actually put it into practice. And so that's the trend of niche communities and really people finally putting that into practice and really focus more on that hyper targeted engagement. I think that especially because I started in this industry like in 2013, it was such a follower game for so long.
Hmm.
And I think people are now becoming more sophisticated and more intentional about who they connect with and why. And I just see this as a really amazing opportunity to create not only just more meaningful relationships with an audience that's genuinely aligned with your message, but to really allow yourself to showcase your authority more. And this shift from just growing a list or growing a following to focusing on engagement over sheer volume size is incredibly powerful. I've really seen firsthand. I have a client named Megan, for example, who really started just focusing in on speaking to only her ideal client, not just talking about what they should do, but really addressing who they are and what it is that they want and what's holding them back. And that kind of deep, niche, transformational connection is what makes niche communities thrive. And so I'm really excited to see more businesses embrace this because I've seen it happen with clients like Megan over and over again that do this and then they reap the benefits for it. And then on the flip side, I too am a little bit more skeptical around AI driven automation. I so powerfully believe in AI, and I definitely think it has its place. I think it's going to allow us to amplify so much, which is so good, particularly in automation and content suggestions and personalization. But I do believe, just like you said, that the authentic relationships cannot be
Mhm.
replaced by technology. And many entrepreneurs are, I think, leaning a little too heavily into AI to drive content or community engagement instead of really kind of getting their hands dirty and like really doing the work. But what I've seen in my own work with clients is that that human touch, real conversations, tailored support, deep personal connections, that is what is actually moving the needle. So AI can be a part of your business. It can help you scale certain parts of your business, but it shouldn't try to replace the value of that higher, like human interaction piece.
Yeah. I
Mhm.
love this. I love this discussion around AI, and I agree wholeheartedly with both of you that AI is more of a tool and less of something that you use to almost replace yourself.
Yeah.
So you both teed up my next question around niche communities. So we saw that they are thriving. Engagement is more valuable than sheer size. I'm curious how you personally have refined your own audience targeting and what's worked best for deepening engagement. Kristen, let's start with you.
Mm. This is something that I have actually in the last 6 or so months been putting so much of my energy into because, like Julie said, it used to be like all about just how many followers you had, and it was sheer volume versus who these people actually are. And so before, when everything was so focused on numbers, it was like you could just have anyone join your list. Now you have to be so much more intentional about messaging and how you're saying things and who you're saying them to. So for me, trying to narrow that down in the last few months has really looked at paying attention to the questions that I'm getting from people and trying to really understand exactly where they're at in their journey as my kind of overall customer. For example, for me personally, I work with content creators and influencers. And so instead of just saying content creators and influencers, I've had to kind of figure out where those people are in their journey to be able to target them even more specifically. So, for example, I had some people joining in my membership who were super new to content creation, maybe never created a video. And then I had some people who it was their full time job. And so, what I found was that I had people that were like looking for certain information that wasn't in there because we were just targeting creators in general. So what we've done is really figured out where our sweet spot is in terms of like what are the questions we're getting asked and what can we provide the most support on. And then we've narrowed that down even further to more like intermediate creators who are on the cusp of making it their full-time job. And since we've been able to do that, I've now been able to narrow down all of my messaging, which has made conversion just so much stronger. So we've been able to like change all the messaging on the sales page and create a lead magnet that is super, super relevant to that group of people so that they see it and they're like, wow, she's speaking exactly to me and my biggest issues. So that's kind of the journey that I've been on with that specific topic in the last few months.
And something I love, I subscribe to Kristen's newsletter. Subscribe to both of your newsletters actually, but in Kristen's newsletter, she's transparently, publicly growing her
Mhm.
community, and so in her newsletter, she shares how many new members she's been able to attract that month and where her membership standing is every single month over
Yeah.
month. And I also think that like that transparency of growing in public also attracts people that are like, yes, I
Yeah.
want to be in this because it does feel intimate and I like seeing the numbers grow. Julie, what
Mhm.
about you when it comes to messaging and getting like really targeted for attracting the right member?
Yeah, it's a great question. I truly believe that to deepen engagement, we need to target people who resonate with our core message, not just our offer or offers. And I'll give you a quick example. One of my clients, Dana, she's a business coach, and she came to me feeling so overwhelmed with how to scale her business because She was trying to cast a wide net. She was so worried about being too niche because she thought that that meant she wouldn't attract enough people to actually generate the sales that she was looking for. And I get why people think that, but it's actually very counterintuitive, and here's why. When you're so focused on casting a wide net, you actually leave a lot of space for confusion. And if you confuse them, you lose them when it comes to your ideal clients. And so, if you can really start by, and what we did with Dana is we aligned her messaging around not only her who her offer was for, but what was that core message? What are the core desires that that ideal client wants? And when she started to frame everything from that lens, that's when everything clicked. And I actually have a framework called the signature framework effect that really walks through this process. But essentially, this is how you go from just creating content to really crafting messaging that positions you as the only solution and only choice for your ideal clients. And this clarity is what allowed her and many of my clients, and myself included, go from that space of just kind of creating content for the sake of creating content, because we're always told that we need to be consistent, we need to show up, and that can get very general and generic very fast, to directly speaking to what our ideal clients are actually experiencing, the symptoms, not the cause. And that's where you're going to see the deep engagement. So with Dana, for example, that deep engagement came when she shifted from talking about, in her case, business strategies, which is very general and very generic, to talking specifically about how burnout and self-doubt were holding her ideal clients back from having the business of their dreams, because that's the problem that she helped them solve. So what worked for Dana is really that signature framework effect. It's about targeting your audience, and not about throwing a wide net, but about specificity and about being so specific with your message to attract the people who feel like they actually have more to lose by not moving forward, working with you. And that's where we have to shift our perspective from content creation to that core messaging piece in order to deepen that engagement.
I love that. One of the places I've seen both of you get really clear on your messaging, and obviously like it leads in and funnels into your offers and the growth of your businesses, is on social. I know that each of you have different social strategies. Let's kind of pop up top of funnel and where we're really putting some of these messaging practices into place. I'm curious which, we don't even have to be platform specific, but like which platform and the strategy that you've applied to to that platform has worked best for you when it comes to actually growing your communities. And Kristen, let's start with you.
Mhm. I mean, for me, Instagram is definitely the most top of funnel. Alongside that, I would say my podcasts as well. Between the two of those are kind of all the way at the top. And then as we get deeper, we get into things like newsletters, maybe smaller digital products, and further on. But for me, Instagram and podcasts is definitely driving the most traffic. But I would say where I'm getting the most sales is actually once people join into the newsletter and kind of go a level deeper. In the newsletter, I think it's a little bit easier for me to really build like a human connection with people, that solidifies what they've already seen on social. So like you were saying, Alexis, we share in the newsletter every week, we're publicly building the membership. Here's what's going on. And I share the bad things that happen. I share the good things, all of it. Because of course I'm always experimenting, and it's a learning experience for me as well. But another thing that we share in there as well that I think really solidifies where we're actually getting conversion or how we're getting conversion. We share a lot about our foster dogs and animal rescue. My husband and I have been fostering for years, and it's something that I would say I'm just as known for within my community than social media. So that is something we share a lot of. And also, like, I'm a big romantasy girl, so I'm sharing what books I'm reading in there. And so outside of just me giving these social media tips or advice, I'm also building like a total human connection with these people as well. And I'm able to do that so much more in my newsletter, which I think helps a lot with conversion.
Yeah, I love that. Love, and Kristen gives great book recommendations, by the way.
Thank
Okay,
you.
Julie, what about you?
Yeah, so similar to Kristen. So for me, Instagram and really specifically Instagram stories has been such a
Mm.
powerful top of funnel channel for us. And really, the difference between that is that I really see Instagram Reels as being a way to create virality, to really kind of start to build a little bit of that know-how, that understanding, getting your ideal client, your ideal community member to kind of lean in. But it's stories that really create that long-term know, like, and trust. I mean, it's called stories for a reason. And so Instagram stories is where I can, it's not just about posting a laundry list of what I'm doing today, but really being intentional about what is the story that I am taking my ideal client, my ideal community member through today, and how can I showcase that there? And then, just like what you said, Kristen, I found to be just as crucial in my strategy is my podcast. So I really see the difference between Instagram and podcasting as you've got a short term media channel and a long term media channel. So I'm kind of putting my publicist hat back on from my days in corporate PR, but you have long form content and short form content. Social media and Instagram stories is what's considered short form content. It's very bite sized and it literally does not, especially stories, they're only up for 24 hours. Whereas something like a newsletter, like Kristen was saying, a podcast episode, blog post, Substack, those are going to be more of your long form content. And that is where you're really going to be able to nurture and take your ideal client through a journey over time. And so I use my podcast really as that nurture channel, that consistent touch point. It's a place where listeners can not only get to know me and learn from me, but really feel like they're a part of my journey. And it's truly one of the best ways to warm up leads, so to speak, to really turn a community member into an engaged, just cheerleader, of your business and brand. It's about moving them from being passive followers or listeners into active, engaged members of your community. And what I love about podcasts and really Instagram stories, if you do it strategically, is that each story series or each episode can subtly lead to calls to action for deeper communication, deeper engagement, whether that's joining a program of mine or listening to a webinar or signing up for something. It's all strategically woven into the content that I create. So listeners naturally see themselves in the place of my business, in the journey of my business, and how we can really co-collaborate and co-create together and work together. And so the impact of the podcast is really measurable by how many listeners convert into the offers, into anything that's really behind a paywall. And that nurturing often and obviously happens slowly over time. That's why it's called long form. But the value is huge because it doesn't just bring people into my world or into your world, it actually converts them into a committed player in your business journey. This combined with Instagram stories, with live sessions, really makes for a holistic, high converting top of funnel.
Yeah. Okay, I have a follow-up question that was not in my notes, so so bear with me, but both of you have different strategies for creating a sense of urgency, right? And we're all marketers here, so like right message, right person, right time. But there's also aspects of using things like urgency or scarcity or exclusivity. I'm curious, especially like you also have different offers, but similar offers in a way. I'm curious how you drive that sense of urgency, or is it more when they're ready, you've served them for so long, you've given so much that when they are ready to invest, the offer is there and they go to you for it? Let's start with you, Kristen, because I know with an ongoing membership, it's a little different than sometimes cohort programs.
Mhm. Yeah, and I honestly, the reason why my membership is not open closed and it is very evergreen is I really, maybe it's my kind of just not loving to be like a salesperson. Like, I don't personally think I'm really great at like the urgency and like, okay, like let's convert right now. So I really like to have mine evergreen. And even when I'm getting on like 15-minute connection calls with potential customers, like I will always say, well, it's there. Like there's not an open and close date. You don't have to sign up on the first of the month. And I think it all comes from a place of also just wanting to show people like I'm not just here to get your money, like I'm really here to help, but when you need it, there's no pressure to do it right now. So that's one of the reasons why I chose my membership to be evergreen, so that I did kind of have that flexibility. In the past, I have done with courses that I've had cohorts where there is like a hard close date. And that for me is like the most stressful thing. It's something I really don't think I excel at, and something that I've learned that I don't love as part of my business model. So I really like to allow people to just kind of like come when feels good for them, and just in the meantime continue to be like a friend to them when they, want to just have friendly conversation. But again, when they're ready to purchase, it's there for them.
Okay. Love that. Julie, what about you?
So I kind of look at this idea of urgency in a kind of a different way. I think that there's a really key distinction here that I don't believe, and this is just from my years of doing this and helping thousands of online coaches and course creators and service providers. I don't believe that ideal clients are actually that moved by urgency if your messaging is doing the job that it's supposed to do. And I think that that's a really critical part of my approach to how I think about the idea of urgency. If you've done the work to craft your messaging so that it speaks directly to your ideal client's desires, to their aspirations, and most importantly, to what they will feel compelled to act on their own, they don't need urgency. And so the desire for the transformation that you provide should be so strong that urgency becomes the actual natural byproduct, not something that you have to create in order to make someone move. So I'll give you an example. My client, Taryn, for instance, she was struggling with turning followers into paying clients. And she was doing all the things that we always hear about, right? Like the FOMO strategies, the limited time discounts, the special pricing, the limited time bonuses. And again, I'm not saying those things don't work, because they do. It just takes a lot longer for them to work. So what we did, instead of focusing on that, we instead focused and spent time on refining her messaging to really focus on the ideal transformation that she provided and how it addressed her ideal client's struggles, and most importantly, the cost of inaction if they didn't take action today. Like, if they didn't do this, then what? So when she was able to really tap in and tune in to what were her ideal clients' core desires, and I'm not talking about the generic stuff, but like the true specific core desires, core struggles, she didn't need to create that artificial urgency, because people who needed her offer felt that immediate pull to join her program, and the sales process actually became a lot smoother for her. So when your messaging is aligned with your ideal client's core desires, urgency isn't a tactic or a hard sell. It's just kind of a natural consequence of them seeing the value that you bring. And that's why I focus so heavily, instead of on the gimmicky strategies, I focus more heavily on the messaging clarity, because when you get that right, everything changes. You won't need to force people to act. They're actually going to feel empowered and compelled to take action themselves. So, yes, urgency strategies can be effective, but if you want to see effectiveness happen faster and easier, the real key is to drive urgency by making sure that your messaging is so aligned and so clear for your ideal client only, that they know exactly why they need you, and they need you right now.
Mhm.
This is juicy, y'all. I love this so much. We even got an amen in the chat from Reverend Stephen Saint Amand. So that was fantastic. Thank you so much. And I love hearing both of your perspectives on this, because we do hear this is how you're supposed to do it. You're supposed to apply urgency here. You're supposed to apply scarcity here. And I think that I'm so glad that you both shared, because this is a great example that there's a lot of different ways to be successful, and there's ways that you can grow your business with tactics and strategies that are aligned to your beliefs and to your values
Mhm.
and how you want to sell and how you want to show up. So I know that both of you are big into recurring revenue and you both believe in that. I am curious, an aspect of recurring revenue is retention. So it's not only just attracting new members, it's also keeping them there. It's keeping them engaged. It's continuing to
Mhm.
serve them, to nurture them. Excuse me. So I'm curious what retention strategies you've both used to keep your community thriving, that people are logging in, it's like a part of their habit. It's a part of their routine, and it builds that like retention muscle. Kristen, let's start with you.
Mm. I think
And
for
Isaac even asked if you can share or know what your retention rates are, if you happen to know.
Hmm. I haven't looked at mine honestly in a little while. I think there used to be a little spot in circle with it on in there, and I haven't seen it recently. But for me personally, this is I would say one of the biggest challenges of having a membership is like you can get people in there, but if they're only staying for a month, then it's not really doing a ton for your business. So getting people to stay in long term is a huge goal, I think, of anyone with a membership. For me, we've tried so many different things and found some things that have really worked well. First being having more long-term commitment when you first sign up versus just like a monthly plan. We offer a quarterly and an annual, and typically quarterly ends up being our most popular, but we do have a lot of people that will actually be able to go into their account and upgrade to the annual. And what happens is the deeper you get, the more long term you get, the lower that monthly price is. So they're actually saving so much money if they know this is something they're going to be really committed to by just doing the quarterly or doing the annual. We also in January actually started something totally new that has been huge for us in the last few months. Is an accountability program. So we basically have each quarter, we put everyone who basically applies from the membership to be in this accountability program, and they get put in groups of four where they have like very specific things they have to do each week or each month as a group, and they have to be part of the membership as they are in this process. So I know that if someone joins in the accountability group in January, they're going to be at least a member through April, kind of going through that first quarter. And then this next month we'll actually be starting a second quarter where they'll get put in new groups and kind of go through the same process, but with new goals that they can stay accountable to. We also will do every single month different workshops. Sometimes what I've found is like if we're sharing multiple months in advance of the different workshops that we're going to be having, people don't want to leave because they're like, oh, like look at all these workshops, they're so juicy. If I leave, I'm not going to have access to them. And then lastly, I would say is just we have really done so much work in the last couple years of making everyone actually become friends that they don't want to leave because they're like, this is how I hang out with my friends every week. We have weekly, what we call date night calls, where we basically just have like a big creator event session. And we have cried on those calls. We have laughed on those calls. Like we have truly all really gotten like a peek into what the other, creators are going through and what they're experiencing. And everyone has gotten so close that it's just like they don't want to leave their friends. So those have definitely been, I would say, our most successful ways to reduce churn.
Okay. I saw some questions on the accountability program. We're
Mm.
going to come back to that. Julie, let's focus on retention and then we'll jump over to accountability.
Yeah. So, I mean, I second so much of what Kristen said. That was so good and so valuable. Retention is everything when it comes to creating a long-term and thriving community, whether it's a membership or just, a podcast community, whatever it is. And, we know that the key is always providing consistent value. We know that fostering authentic relationships is important, but I think also from my experience, it's been about creating that ongoing transformation for your members. So it's not just about keeping people engaged for the sake of it, but it's really about ensuring that they feel like they're consistently progressing toward a goal. Like that is a question that comes up a lot in my world and with my clients. It's like, what is the goal? What is the goal of this thing? Because we kind of have to keep our eye on the prize, so to speak. So that's one way that we make sure that the ongoing transformation is there. One of the strategies, if you will, that I use in my communities is personalized support. again, I've been doing this for a long time. So it's what used to work back in 2016, 2019, 2020, 2022. It doesn't really work the same today. And I think that the market's gotten a lot more sophisticated, thank goodness. And people have gotten way more discerning with where they choose to spend their time and where they choose to invest, as they should. And so, personalized support, at least for me in my world, was something that was really important to our members. So, for example, in my programs like the brand accelerator, the revenue accelerator, we structure it where members not only get the core content, but also tailored guidance through things like one-on-one intensives, VIP sessions, custom audits. Because when clients see that their unique challenges are being addressed in real time, when we're able to kind of get under the hood of the car, so to speak, and under the hood of their business, they feel seen, they feel valued, and that directly impacts that goal piece and their long-term engagement and retention. So for us, it's about going beyond just delivering content and providing hands-on, really actionable support that moves the needle for them and really meeting them where they are, so it doesn't feel like a one size fits all. And like Kristen said, the community connection is such another crucial element. I think it's really easy, I'm sure we've all seen this, for an online community to just kind of become another place where people consume content.
Mhm.
But what we really try to foster, and what is always the baseline for us, is like a magical experience. That's what we always talk about internally with my team. I want people to come in and feel like this is the best experience that I have ever had, and that real sense of belonging. And so, small intimate settings where you can do that to allow for deeper relationships to be built among the peers, creating opportunities for members to hold each other accountable, having those accountability groups like Kristen said, really sharing their genius. Because in my world, like, my clients are brilliant. They are experts at what they do. They're incredible at what they do. And so I want them to share their wins and sit and share their struggles and really be able to give advice with each other. And that's the kind of peer support that I look for. That's what I really feel is invaluable for retention, because it's 2025. So people, they ain't just sticking around for the content anymore, right? Like,
Mhm.
when it comes to content, like, we're all good. Like, we're contented out.
Yeah.
So they're sticking around because they genuinely feel connected to the group, and they are invested in each other's success. And they know that when they rise, everyone else rises. And so that's a huge bit to it. And then another quick strategy I'll share is just trying to stay on the tip of the arrow and always providing ongoing incremental value. I always look at my programs as like a living, breathing document. It's not set in stone. It's not one size fits all. I want to ensure that the experience, and a way to make it feel magical, it's not just about regularly updating and refining the content. That feels very stagnant. Anyone can do that. But it's about really keeping it relevant to where the members are in their business journey. And so, in one of my programs called the Brand Accelerator, for example, members aren't just going through one static program. The content in and of itself is dynamic. It's constantly evolving. It's interconnected, so that they're always learning, they're always getting feedback, and they're always growing. So when clients can see that they're progressing through their journey in a very measurable way, it builds a sense of loyalty and trust with the program, and that's what keeps them coming back.
I love that. I want to brag on both of you for a second. I mean, I could do it for longer than a second, but as you're watching in the chat, have you noticed how they both speak about their members? And like the love and the passion and the compassion, the empathy in which they speak about the community that they've built. Like, yeah, that's what it's all about. I just feel like it's rare in a way to hear people talk like this, and like the genuine care that both of you have for your communities, and how much you want to see them win, and how connected and how emotionally like bought in you are to their transformation is amazing. So I felt that throughout this. I needed to say it, and everybody in the chat is also affirming this. So you both are amazing. We only have a couple of minutes left for questions. I want to move away from some of my prepped questions and get to those of the audience. One that's most top of mind from Champ is accountability groups. Kristen, can you quickly
Mhm.
share your experience with accountability groups, what they are, how they're set up, and how
Mhm.
they're working? And then Julie, if you have any experience with that as well, happy to hear from that as well. So Kristen, go ahead.
Yeah, so this is an idea that we just started implementing. This we are just finishing up our first quarter, so we're still kind of learning and refining, but basically what it looks like at this point is we have an application that goes out once a quarter before the quarter starts. So for example, this week up until Friday, we have our applications open. It's for members only. Basically, they come in, talk about what their goals are, when their availability is, what kind of like revenue goals they have so we can kind of match people with people that are on like the same journey, same level. And essentially from there, we work really hard as a team to get these people into like groups that we think will work. We know everyone from having like such great relationships that we're like, ooh, this person, if they haven't met this person, they have to be in a group together. They will love each other. So we really sit down and curate those groups very carefully. And then basically what they have as kind of like tasks once they get into this program, they have a circle group where basically all of them, as well as one of my team members who act as a moderator, are in a group chat. They also have kind of roles where like someone's the timekeeper for meetings, someone is the scheduler to like get meetings scheduled and everything. We have like a cheerleader whose job it is to go into our little document for each group where everyone's tracking their goals and basically like cheer everyone on. We have someone who comes in and says, "Hey, you haven't put your goal tracking in. It's due tomorrow. Like, just wanted to be your little reminder." And so everyone kind of has this role. And the idea is that they're going to be able to get together on Zoom calls each month as a group, really learn about what each business is working on, and essentially help each other grow over those 3 months. And they basically set one long-term goal that will be like a quarterly goal that by the end, our goal for the program is that they're able to complete that one kind of big quarterly goal that they made. It was a lot to put together transparently, but the feedback that we've got from this, I mean, we're not even finished with the first cohort, is best feedback we've probably gotten as our membership as a whole. So it's absolutely something we're going to continue to put like more time and energy into and continue to refine after we get feedback from this first cohort.
The cool thing about that too is the accountability groups then becomes part of the offer in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Like you've
Yeah.
tested it and it's worked so well, and now it can become part of like, hey, join my community because we also have this amazing
Yep.
program that works. Here are the testimonials. That's amazing. Also,
Yeah.
I don't know, member matching could be coming. I don't know. I
Oh,
can't confirm or deny. Can't confirm or
that'll
deny,
make my life a
but
little
member
easier.
matching might be coming. I don't know. Okay, question for Julie.
I'm like
Um,
taking notes, Kristen. That was so good.
Thank
yeah, that was
you.
amazing. Okay, question for you, Julie, from Faisal. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. And this is a bit technical, but Julie, I know that you use Circle to do a lot of different things and manage a lot of different programs.
Mhm.
And the question is, whenever you're growing a business with a specific niche concept, do you build multiple spaces in Circle, multiple projects within a single community, or do you divide it into separate communities, different spaces? I'd love to kind
Yeah.
of talk through like how you've set yours up.
Yeah. I'm wondering if I can like
You want to
share
share
my
your
screen.
screen?
Yeah, I'll share my screen and I'll just show the inside of how we do it. So give me just a
Hmm.
moment to pull it up.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, I believe in having okay, here, is that up so everyone can see it? Yes. Okay. All right.
I know you're doing this on the fly too, so thank
I
you. I didn't
am,
give
but
you
that's
any
okay.
warning. I was like, can you just
Okay.
go ahead and walk us
Can
through
we
how
just
you've
do
set up
this?
your
Okay, so
circle?
here is, and like I'm sure Alexis, you're gonna see this and be like, what is happening here? We need to
No, not at all. Not at
help
all.
you. So we have everything that we have in our business is housed in Circle. So we actually, and I do this with my clients now too. We kind of left that whole free-for-all Facebook group model to paid high-value containers several years ago. This just allows for so much more of a seamless client experience, in our opinion. So we've got, I think this is still loading, but we've got different courses. And then let's say if you pop in, you're going to see all of our different courses here on the side. So I have a lot of, I've been doing this for a long time. So I've got, offers in here that go all the way back from 2016 that people still have access to. But we've got trainings, we've got group coaching, we've got my membership, and then we've got my signature programs. So each of them have their own dedicated space, if you will. And then under that, they're going to have their own tab. So where the course dashboard lives, where the community group lives, where the resources live. So this is just an example of one of our programs, the Elite Sales System. So in that, I'm going to be honest, I have someone on my team who builds this out because I'm not tech savvy. You don't want me building anything if you actually want it to work. So, so Emily, shout out to Emily. She's amazing. She handles all of this. But if you go into a course, it's actually going to be laid out in this way. So we've got 5 sections, 8 lessons, and then we have certain programs that have community elements, certain ones that are just trainings that don't, but that's essentially how that works. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think this
Okay.
is amazing. I
Okay,
love
great.
that, and to your point, it can really be customized to what your use case is.
Yeah.
And one thing I did want to point out here that you mentioned, but I want to kind of double click on, is that different members have access to different things over
Thing.
here, y'all, on the
Yeah.
side.
Mhm.
So you're
So,
seeing like, I have access to everything in my business, obviously, but
right.
let's say that Alexis was in my world and she only had access to the visibility accelerator. The way that we set it up and why I love Circle is that Alexis is still going to see all of this, but she's not going to have access to it. So let's say
Mhm.
that Alexis comes in as a visibility accelerator enrollee and then she sees Elite Sales System and she's like, oh, what's that? And then she goes to click on it. It's actually not going to show her this. It's going to show her kind of like you don't have access to this.
Yeah,
And
it's
then
going to
we
pop
have
up a
a
lock screen.
customized, yeah, we have a customized message that it's like, are you interested in this? Click here to email us and then we can have a conversation with them. So it actually helps with like sales and just
Yeah,
awareness.
upsells.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I love that. That's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. That would
Alexis,
drive.
I
Oh,
was
go
also
ahead,
going to
Kristen,
say,
please.
it's so interesting, like seeing Julie's circle set up because mine is so drastically different.
Yeah.
And so, do you want me to share mine as well
Yes,
to show like
please.
the differences? It's,
Yes, show us behind the scenes. This is great.
it's always so interesting, like seeing how other people use the platform because there's so much just like different ways that you can set it up. So we have
Wait, can you zoom
almost,
in really quick? Can you
oh
zoom
yeah,
in just a smidge? It's just a little, there it is. Yep,
that's good.
perfect. Thank you.
Um, it's so our membership is more, I think, like community focus versus like course and education focus. We have
Hmm.
one course that's in here, but the rest is all just more like community discussion forums. So we basically have our community discussion forums separated by what we're talking about. So for example, brand partnerships, people can come in here and ask all questions that are specific to that topic. But then we also have things like templates and resources that are living in kind of what looks like how Julie has like courses set up. So we like have, I guess, the community more expanded versus like focusing more on the courses. So just a different way that you could set it up too.
Yeah, I love this because it really showcases it's specific to your business model, but also like,
Yeah.
is it more program focused, more cohort program? Is it more community focused where underneath the community you might run different programs, but it lives on the community side? And
Mhm.
there's been a lot of love in the chat for the show and tell, impromptu show and tell. So thank you both so much for being willing to give us a peek behind the curtain. We are
I
at
know that's
time
so
and I want to
fun.
be, oh, go ahead, Julie.
I know it's like that's so fun. I would love to have just like a circle powwow with everyone that uses it. And it's like let's see how we can like optimize our
Yeah.
own circle experiences.
Yeah, we actually have a version of this that runs inside the Circle community called Show and Tell. And it's where
Hmm.
Circle customers literally come in, share their screen, and all of the recordings of Show and Tells are in the Circle resource library as well for anyone that's a Circle customer. but you can go in there and you can literally just watch people walk through kind of a
Oh,
tour
that's cool.
of their community. It's a great way to learn how to optimize certain things and how people are using it because it really can be very customizable.
That's so
Um,
cool.
but with that, I want to be respectful of your time. Thank you so much for being part of this fireside chat. I love digging into the trends, what you're focused on right now, what strategies are working for you. Share some love in the chat for these two amazing entrepreneurs. Can you also share where people can connect with you? Julie, do you want to go first?
Sure. Well, again, thank you so much for having me, Alexis and the Circle team. You all know that I love this platform. I'm such an advocate for it, always here to support. Kristen, you are amazing. I'm so glad we finally got to do something together, which is super exciting. And you're just so brilliant, and your incredible students and community members are so, so lucky to have you. So just thank you for being an example of what's possible and leading with light, as always. And I tend to hang out the most on Instagram. So if you're an Instagram girly or boy, that's where you can find me. I am at Jules, Juls Solomon, Solomon. Feel free to DM me. I'm very engaged and communicative over there. You can also listen to my podcast. If you're a podcast listener, that is called the Influencer Podcast. You can find it wherever you love to listen to podcasts. And then my website is juliesolomon.net to just learn about me and my business.
Amazing. I'm going to drop all those links in the chat as well for everybody. And then, Kristen, where can people connect with you?
Yes. Thank you again so much for having me. Julie, thank you for being here as well. It's so funny when Alexis told me I was going to be on a panel with you. I was like, me? What? Why? That's crazy.
Oh,
So I'm very honored to be here with you today. And thank you, Alexis, for being amazing as always. For me, also, Instagram is the place I hang out the most. Um, Alexis actually just dropped my handle there. It's KBOUSQ. And I also have a podcast where every Wednesday we have new episodes with actionable tips for creators to help them monetize specifically. And that podcast is called Social Scoop, SOULCIAL, Scoop. Thank you guys for having me.
amazing. Yeah, thank you both so much for being here. With that, we're going to transition to our last session of the day with Mathilde Leo. Julie, Kristen, have a beautiful rest of your day. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. See you guys.
Bye. Okay, I'm going to bring Miss Mathilde to stage. How are we feeling? We're about 90 minutes in. We've got about 35-ish minutes left. Stay with me. Keep the energy. Grab the coffee, grab the water, stand up, do some stretching if you need to. Erica said, fire hose. Feel that. Feel that. So much good information. I love that you all really resonate with the fireside chat as well. So really great feedback for us as we're planning these events. We have a summit coming up here in a month with some good fireside chats and panels as well. So, okay, let me pull up Mathilde and bring our head of community and customer education to the stage. I have gotten to work with Mathilde for the last 3+ years. Nobody knows community like Mathilde knows community. Hi,
Hello, everyone.
it's so good to see you. Welcome.
And good to be here. And I've been listening to your advice. I've been doing some stretching before this session as I was listening to the great words of wisdom that Julie and Kristen shared. So loved it. Great panel.
Good. You're warmed up, you're stretched.
I'm
I'm
ready.
so excited for your session. Mathilde's going to be sharing 5 tips to kind of build a future-proof community strategy. And Mathilde, I mean, I don't want to speak for you, but you see behind the scenes of literally thousands of community builders. I mean, not to get too meta, but Circle has a Circle community for Circle customers with
That
the
is right.
whole goal of educating and supporting community builders. And
That
that's
is
like your
right.
whole job. So I'm so
And we're
excited to learn
lucky.
from you.
We're lucky to have this front row seat into what people like Julie and Kristen are building, and many, many others. Now, tens of thousands of customers actually building communities on Circle. So I'll be sharing a little bit of what we've been learning, just that 1%, but that 1% is going to be hopefully helpful to you all.
Absolutely. Well, feel free to share your screen and we can
Awesome.
dig in, and hopefully we have time for questions at the end. We might run a few minutes over, so if you have to jet, this is recorded. We will be sending you a replay tomorrow. But with that, take it away, Mathilde.
Awesome. Thanks, Alexis. All right, everyone. So good to be here. Really excited to be closing this event today with a short and practical session. Like Alexis said, this is about 5 ways to build a future-proof community strategy. So you've heard about the insights from the trends reports today. You've heard 2 experienced community leaders who shared how they've been putting those insights into actions for many years now. You've even had a show and tell. So awesome event. What we're going to do now in the next 20-ish minutes, and then we'll have time for Q&A, is really dive into how you can build a community strategy that's not just relevant today, but that is also future-proof, because you're going to have capitalized on the right trends for your particular use case. All right, and what I'm going to do throughout the presentation is share a few examples of what we're doing in the Circle customer community. Before we start, just a little bit about me. If you don't know each other already, if you're not in the Circle customer community, I'm Mathilde, originally French. I live in Lisbon, Portugal, and I joined Circle about 4 years ago now, back when we were just getting started. And I had the opportunity to build our customer community from the ground up back in the days, which was all about figuring out how we could support our first customers in building thriving communities of their own, by helping learn from one another, by really having access to what others are doing in true community fashion. And today, I'm very lucky to be leading a wonderful team that serves those customers in the Circle community. So what we do is we create resources, events, programs that help our customers succeed faster and with more confidence than if they were doing it on their own. What excites me the most in my role is seeing all the creative ways that people turn communities into sustainable, impactful businesses, just like Julie and Kristen are doing beautifully. My previous career chapter was about running my own community business. It was a conference series for product managers that became the go-to space for product managers and designers across Europe. And that experience really showed me the power of community. The power of community, not just as a tool for connecting people, but as a business in itself. And after that, I joined Circle, and the rest is history. It's been 4 years. Time flies when you're having fun and when you're building community. All right. So let's talk a little about building a future-proof community strategy. So let's start with the what. What exactly is community strategy, and why is it important to have one? So at Circle, we define community strategy as the way that you align your community efforts with what's valuable to your members and what's valuable to your business. So if you imagine a Venn diagram, actually you don't have to imagine it, it's right here. See this Venn diagram. On one side, you have the value your members get from your community. So things like connections, knowledge, experiences, opportunities. And on the other side, you have the value your business gets, whether that's revenue, insights, brand loyalty, however you define business value. So your strategy is what sits at the middle. It's that sweet spot where you're getting both. So when you have a strong strategy, every effort, whether that's a new event, a new member initiative, a brand new offering, will serve both your members and your business. What happens if you don't have a strategy, if you don't operate strategically? Well, you're at risk of chasing what might sound exciting on paper, but won't actually drive impact. All right, with that said, now that we defined strategy, let's get into 5 best practices to build a strong, future-proof strategy for your community or your business. So first, you want to start with clear community goals. It might sound obvious, I know, starting with goals, but that's a mistake that I see a lot of community builders make, myself included back in the days, going straight into execution mode, going straight into doing versus planning or figuring out what is it that you're trying to achieve. And that's what I really encourage every customer at Circle to do in the early days, is to really kind of map out their goals for the next 3 to 6 months. A goal can be about reaching a specific milestone, like launching a new offering with 50 or 100 paid members. A goal could also be about gathering information that will help you make decisions down the line. For example, you might want to focus on identifying who your ideal paid member even is by doing interviews or research. Or it can be about solving a pain point or a challenge that you have in your current community or business. For example, you might have a goal around driving member engagement, making sure more members are posting and engaging with each other. So I always recommend to focus on one goal at a time. You might have 5, 6 different goals. Specifically, if you're a small team or a team of one, let me know in the chat if you're a team of one. You do want to make sure that you don't get too distracted with 5, 6, 7 different things that will take you a bunch of time. Exactly, loads of teams of one here. So try to map out, when you map out your roadmap or when you plan what you're going to focus on, try to really periodize what you're doing. 1 month, one priority, 1 quarter, one priority. And the clearer you are on your goals, the easier it will be for you to know where to spend your limited time. Share in the chat, by the way, what is one goal that you have, one priority that you have right now in the next 3 to 6 months? Love to hear from you, even if it's not totally fully fleshed out. Just share, what is it that you focused on? Is it about research? Is it about launching? Is it about driving engagement, onboarding? I will give you a few minutes to share. Growing community, launching the program, increasing our monthly active users. Wow, increasing engagement, growing. So the chat is going too quickly. I cannot even read. This is awesome. Ultimate goal, help people get on the property ladder. Love that. So I can see a bunch of different goals, right? Member goals, community goals. You're evidently already thinking about goals. So make sure if you don't have them laid out in a simple page or in a simple document, do that right after the session. All right. Number 2, put AI to work. You've heard about it today from Alexis and from the Trends report. AI adoption by community builders is about to skyrocket this year. And that's going to go beyond just using ChatGPT and using it for content creation, right? You've heard about AI agents, and we're going to talk a bit about this in a few seconds. The idea of getting support from a chat agent to really expand your presence as a community builder. So again, here, if you want to make the most of AI, the first step is not to dive right into the tools or getting, into the nitty-gritty of different AI tools. You want to first identify where it can provide the most value. So again, if you have goals, it's going to become easy here. But even if you don't have specific goals that AI can help you with, just pick a focus area. Is it member onboarding that you're trying to optimize? Moderation? Are you trying to improve a process to create new content or creating more novel and creative content? Pick a few focus areas and start experimenting. And beyond the details here, that's what I really want you to take away. 2025 isn't the year of community AI, is the year, of community AI experimentation and adoption, not the year where you're going to create your perfect playbook for leveraging AI. This is the time now to talk to your team, to figure out what parts of our experience, of our member experience, that we want to improve. If we were to rebuild that process today with AI, what would it look like? You don't necessarily have to do it, but just think about how you can do things a little bit differently, and then, experiment one thing at a time. I know a lot of you might want to get an example, and so here's one example from our own Circle community or community team here at Circle. So in the Circle community, which has tens of thousands of members at this stage, we have a lot of questions, right? People are coming together for our events, for resources, but also to ask questions that can be product questions. How does Circle work? How do I use this feature? Or more strategic questions. Now, with a fast-growing community, with a community of that scale, more members means more questions to answer for our community team, but also it means that a lot of these questions are redundant. They're questions that have been asked maybe not tens of thousands of times, but hundreds of times before. Maybe questions that have been answered already, or where a really great answer exists in a past discussion or in a knowledge base. Obviously, we want to continue offering that value to our members, right? Quick access to answers and best practices. But at the same time, we have a lot of different members who are very established and who turn to the community for more strategic guidance and knowledge beyond the basic questions. And so that's the problem that we are trying to solve right now. And our goal, the way we've translated this problem, this pain point into a goal, is that in the next 3 to 6 months, we want to decrease the percentage of what we call basic product questions in our Ask the Community space, which is a proxy for essentially helping members self-serve and finding answers on their own. Now, there are 10 different ways that we could go about solving this problem, right? One way could be, helping members use our search functionality or having better onboarding. And we're doing all of that. But the new thing that we're trying that I'm so excited about is going to be implementing an AI agent. So in the next few weeks, if you're a Circle customer, that's what you're going to have access to. You're going to be able to ask a chat agent a question, and you're going to have an immediate answer that uses all of the past discussions, all of the past conversations that happen in the community, as well as a knowledge base. So you could imagine asking a new member asking, what is the best resource on onboarding in the community? Or a specific question like, what is the difference between access groups and paywalls? And then being directed to exactly where they need to look and what they need to do. Obviously, the benefits of an AI agent here for a new Circle community member are obvious, right? They get an instant answer without having to wait for one of our community managers or another member to answer their question. They don't have to search, right? They have a first point of contact that they can use to really get immediate value. But for other members as well, right? If you start seeing fewer of the same questions, the value of the community kind of increases, right? The conversations that stay relevant, that are top of mind for people are the ones that are a bit more in depth, that are about the things that an AI agent cannot really answer. Like, give me some feedback on my onboarding journey, or I have this challenge with my members that I cannot solve. Like, let's discuss it together. And the third benefit is obviously for our team, as I alluded to, time saved, right? A lot of our community managers' time right now is spent answering those questions in the community. If they gain just a few hours of their time every day, that's time that they can spend running more events, being there for community members, connecting them with each other, or working on planning fun and exciting new experiences for the community. So again, here, AI isn't about replacing you as a community member, as you've read in the report. It's about freeing up your time to focus on what you do best, which is facilitating human connection and serving your members in ways that AI cannot. By the way, if you're interested in AI agents and the feature itself that is available to Circle customers, I've just dropped our product announcement from a few weeks ago in the chat, and you can read all about it in there. So remember, this is a little tip here after this example. Community AI is brand new, right? Just in the Circle community, we've just started experimenting with it a few weeks ago, right? So what I'm trying to share here and what I want you to remember is, if you're only just getting started to think about how you're going to use AI, you're right where you need to be. The point here is to start experimenting, to start identifying what problems you want to solve with AI, and then move on to experimenting and then sharing learnings with your team. All right, strategy number 3 to build a strong community strategy this year is to prioritize live experiences. So you've heard Alexis share a bit about this trend before. Live experiences, online or in person, are the very best way for you to drive engagement and retention in your community. Members love live events, they make time for them, and they are the best way to create a hard to replicate, valuable community offering, right? Julie said in the panel, people have enough content these days. What they want is belonging. They want magical experiences. Now, if you've ever run a live workshop before or put together a live bootcamp or any sort of live experiences, it takes time, right? So the question is, how do you prioritize what to offer? What is the right mix of live events and experiences for your community? So to answer this question, I want you to imagine that you're running a TV channel, or at least that you were doing it 10 or 15 years ago. And that is a framework that I want to share now that I love, which comes from our Circle experts and friend, Tatiana Figueredo. And I will drop the article in the chat if you're curious to read the source material. But what Tatiana says is that she explains that the way we program community events follows the same structure as the way TV channels work. When TV channels are deciding what to air, they have a handful of categories of shows to fill their schedules. They have primetime shows, daytime shows, and special events. So primetime shows are, the most widely appealing shows that are a good fit for almost everyone in the channel's audience. Think about, Survivor or The Simpsons. They have a wide appeal, right? And they keep people coming back for a long time. In the context of a community, a primetime show might be your weekly office hours, show and tell. We talked about Circle Show and Tell that has been going on for as long as the Circle community exists. That keeps driving and drawing people together every week to help them understand what others are building and really learn from other Circle community builders. So your primetime show is about reach. It's about offering something that is of wide appeal. Then you have daytime shows. So channels rely on those daytime kind of programs to really appeal to more niche groups. So in communities, these are more targeted small group events. It might be an invite-only roundtable. It might be an in-person meetup in a specific city. And so, in here, what you want to do is connect. You want to really deepen the relationships between your members with those type of programming. And then you have special events. So, TV networks generate a lot of buzz with those events. The Oscars, the Olympics, right? Macy's Thanksgiving parade or whatever is the equivalent in your country or wherever you live in the world. Those special events in your community could be your annual summits, your end of year celebrations, an event that you might host around a course launch or a product launch or a challenge, right? Those events are all about engaging kind of like even the most inactive members. They're about driving people together and reminding them of the value of the community. So the reason why I'm sharing this framework is because you don't have to do everything all at once. You just need to think about having a mix of those different things throughout the year. So, start with one. If you're just getting started, start with one event, one experience. Start with your prime time. And once you figured it out, move on to a different format. And what I think is important to do here, and what I've seen work across hundreds, if not thousands of community builders, is to be upfront, to be transparent with your members about your roadmap. I think Kristen shared this before, maybe it was Julie, around, telling them, what is the plan? All right, in the next couple of months, we're going to have a series of workshops to talk about this topic or to go about solving these particular problems. And then when the series ends, take a moment to get your members' feedback and then get a pulse check on what they'd like to see next, what formats they would prefer, what topics they want to learn more about. You can even ask members to host specific events themselves and take a more active role. And that is really one of the best ways to build an event strategy that will resonate with your members deeply and keep them engaged in the long run, to really involve them in the process of kind of figuring out what is that right mix of live experiences. Here's a quick example of how we have done this ourselves in the Circle community. We have just started organizing in-person customer meetups and dinners, very informal, because we had heard since a long time ago that our members, our customers really were craving those in-person gatherings. We have been hosting virtual events in the Circle community for 4 years now. And so we thought it was about time to dip our toes into the world of in-person gatherings for our customers. And so our approach that we took last year really mirrors some of the trends from the report. So number one, the fact that in-person events are back, right? Because everybody is craving more in-person connection. That's one. Number two, the fact that micro events are a very effective way to start. You don't have to build well, you can if you want to host a large conference, but what you could also do, back to the kind of daytime show analogy, you can start with a small gathering, an informal meetup, something that's going to be really about connecting your members with each other. So in our case, what we've done is we've started doing invite-only sessions in a few cities in the world where we know we had a critical mass of customers. And we made this invite-only just so we could control the experience and make sure that this was a session for our most established community builders to learn from one another. That was a kind of like a pilot. We experimented a lot. We've got loads of feedback. The response has been incredible. And now we're excited to collaborate. We're going to collaborate and engage some of our top customers to host events in their own cities later this year to be able to scale this initiative. One other thing that we've done, which I want to share here because it's relevant to another trend from the report, which we haven't mentioned today, it's the idea of platform consolidation. Obviously, we're Circle, we're using our own products, but I just want to mention, because I'm someone who used to run an event business and conferences, meetups, and I remember at the time how hard it was to use 5, 6 different tools to announce the events, to manage a mailing list, to manage the photos and the testimonials. And that was kind of like a reminder during this pilot last year that it's amazing when you have everything in one place. So we used a dedicated circle community here to announce our meetups, to make sure people could RSVP. Then we used the Marketing Hub, our email feature, to remind attendees that they could post their photos in the community and stay connected with each other via the member directory. So again, this is really just a little kind of meta insight here, but having everything in one place is something, or at least trying to simplify your life by consolidating your tool stack is something that you should be aiming for this year, or that we're seeing a lot of people doing across the board. All right. By the way, if you're wondering, if you need some help and support around building an event or programming calendar, I'm going to drop this resource in the chat, which is actually a resource from our customer community. It's a community events calendar template, which you can use to kind of like prioritize your formats and track attendance and do all the great things that community builders do, around hosting great events. So definitely use that resource if you need some support. All right, number 4, and then we're going to have our last trend or our last tip for community, a future-proof community strategy. You want to make sure you involve your members in shaping the community's future. I've started talking a bit about that already, right? Make sure you involve your members in your programming, in your experiences, give them a role to play. But it's really important to note, members are not just consumers, but they are co-creators, or they should be co-creators of your community. This will lead to a community offering that's more relevant, and that will also lead to higher engagement from your members who will feel more invested. A great example of that is something my team did in the past year. We have been working on a new initiative, Circle Academy, which is our new hub for community education, where our customers can go and watch self-paced courses on all the topics that they care about, community strategy, onboarding, and so on. And to build Circle Academy, what we've done is we've actually worked with some of our top customers, and we have hosted some focus groups, some sessions to really understand what they do well, what strategies have worked for them. And so those focus groups have led to participants who feel really engaged, really involved in the process of creating Academy. So you see on the slide, Emily, who shared on LinkedIn how one of our collaborators, how excited she was to have played a role in shaping the curriculum of Circle Academy. So again, we could have just built Academy with our insights and data, but the fact that we've involved some of our members in the process of creating the content and the experience has led to even higher engagement with those new programs and experiences, which is something we're going to continue doing in the future. The last strategy I want to share is around community comms, community communications, because the best of strategy won't succeed if you don't have a strong comm plans in place to engage or re-engage your members. So community comms is not just about making an announcement to the whole community to let them know about an event or a program. It's also about personal messages that you might send that might be manual or automated to reach specific members and have them perform desired actions. So for example, in the Circle community, we have a bunch of workflows that trigger when something happens. So when a new member joins, for example, and they complete our onboarding course, they receive an automated DM from Pedro, our community manager, that prompts them to introduce themselves. And we have those workflows that are stacked against each other to really kind of like help members make progress in their onboarding journey. So you want to make sure that you have a mix of different channels here. And you also want to make sure that you are personal and relatable. Talking to your members in your community isn't the same as marketing your offering to an external audience. Your members should feel the difference. And I think the best community builders that I've seen in my career so far are really the ones who speak like themselves, who are authentic, and who make sure that they reach their members where they're at and use their own voice. I will share in the chat an article that we have For some reason, I cannot share to all of the audience in the chat. So I will let Cass or Alexis share the article that we have around community comms in the chat, so you all can read it if you're interested in this topic. Awesome. And here's one last example around community comms that I wanted to share. In the Circle community, we have a contributor program, which is a program where we have a few dozens of really engaged members who are sharing content, best practices every month, and who are supporting others. We used to rely on a chat space in the Circle community to announce kind of like program-related news to our contributors. And we've always wanted to have some sort of email digest to help kind of like engage the members of this program. But we didn't really have the time to set it up in a separate email system. We didn't want to bug our busy marketing team to make it happen. So we kind of stuck to using a chat space for a while, which worked fine, but wasn't so effective after a while when we grew the program. So last year, when our marketing hub feature, our email feature launched, Trisha from my team, what she did is she started building a contributor monthly digest. So an email digest that features all of the different kind of like opportunities for contributors to share content around, reminders, even challenges, things that they can do, rewards that they can unlock, and all of that. And we've seen an increase in engagement with this program since the introduction of this digest, which is, again, very personal, very relatable. It comes from Trisha and is built right within Circle with Marketing Hub. All right, we've covered a lot of ground today, and I know we're going to have hopefully some time for Q&A before we close the session. What I just want to do now is kind of like bring it home. So here are 3 key takeaways I want you to walk away with from this session. First, you want to be clear on your goals this year. Don't just jump on a trend because everyone else is doing it. Make sure it actually aligns with what your community needs. What's your biggest challenge right now? What's the opportunity you're trying to unlock? Second, pick one trend or strategy that you feel excited about and that relates to your goal and test it. You don't need to revamp everything overnight. Just experiment with something small over the next month and see how it plays out. Obviously, I've shared a few examples, like in the Circle community, we are currently testing AI agents, but I would love for you to do the same in your own communities. Find a trend that makes sense for you and try it out. And third, remember that you don't have to do this on your own. You might be on your own in your team, you might be a team of 1, but you have members or an audience. So involve them. The more you give members a role, whether it's shaping new initiatives, giving feedback, or even leading events, the more invested they will be. And that in turn will help you make better decisions for the future of your community. So your members can be co-creators or partners, not just consumers. And with that, I want to wish you tons of luck, tons of community building and success this year. Have fun with it, and I can't wait to see what you build.